You're listening to the Archaeology Podcast Network.
You're listening to the Archaeology Show. TAS goes behind the headlines to bring you the real stories about archaeology and the history around us. Welcome to the podcast.
Hello and welcome to the Archaeology Show, episode 299.
On today's show, we talk about a tomb in ancient Egypt, a newly discovered section of the Great Wall of China, and frescoes in Pompeii depicting a cult.
Let's dig a little deeper. Find more parts of that old Great Wall. Welcome to the show, everyone.
Hello.
So, we're back.
Yes, we are. We're struggling a little bit.
Yeah, we're still in England, and
yes.
it's tough to get time to record over here.
It is because we're trying so hard to do as much as we can. Honestly, I think we're doing a really good job of doing as much as we can.
Yeah.
But we also need to work, and so some things have been sort of missed, like last week's episode of the show. But it's cool. We're back, and we're going to be back in the States at the end of the week and back on our more normal schedule, hopefully. So we'll get back on track.
Yeah, hopefully we do get back on track.
Yeah.
But this week, we've got, for the first time in what feels like forever, 3 news articles.
We do.
Yeah, and they are from probably about a month ago at this point, because we did take notes on them a while ago, but I think they're still pretty interesting.
They are, and they were kind of big stories, at least the first one.
They still are. I still see them.
Yeah, at least this first one that we're going to talk about is definitely a big story, so it's still worth it to cover it for sure.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. So this first one is from Smithsonian Magazine, and its title is... Archaeologists say they've discovered the first ancient Egyptian pharaoh's tomb since Tutankhamun's in 1922.
Yeah, and first named tomb. They found tombs, but they just don't always know who they belong to. Yeah. But this one, we actually have a name, we're pretty sure.
So this is the lost tomb of Thutmose II. He ruled during the 15th century BCE, which was a crazy long time ago.
Yes, so long. Yeah. So long.
The tomb is located in Luxor, which is right down the Las Vegas Strip from the MGM Grand. Wait.
You know what's so funny about that is I just saw a reel about the Luxor and how it's kind of a dumpy casino now, and it's not the epitome of what it used to be, 25 years ago or whatever.
Incidentally, let's take a side trip down memory lane.
Sidetrack.
I wouldn't say I was a prude as a kid, but a little bit TMI. I did grow up with somebody who drank, and it means that I didn't drink until I was 21. Yeah. I actually drank before I was 21, but that was in Europe. I think when I was in the Navy. I don't know. The timeline is all weird, but my first drink in the United States was at the Luxor, in a glass that was basically Cleopatra's Needle at midnight.
Yeah, on your 21st birthday,
on my
21st
right? birthday. Yeah. It was like a $25 drink. You get to keep the glass.
Mm-hmm. It's probably a $50 drink these days.
Oh my God. Yeah. We should go back and do that, because it looks like we might be going to Vegas in November. Yeah. And we might go through there sooner, but either way, we might be going there in November. And I don't think I've been to the Luxor since.
That's not true, sir. Oh. You and I stayed there.
We stayed there?
We stayed there. And it was probably 15 years ago when we were working for a CRM company in Reno, and we drove down to Arizona, and we had to spend the night halfway because it was such a long trip. And we were like, well, we're going to be in Vegas. We might as well stay at the Strip. And I'm pretty sure you were like, we have to go to the Luxor. Because I went there on my 21st birthday. We have to go back. And so we did.
Oh, so maybe every 15 years.
Yeah, right.
I will go back and recreate my 21st birthday.
Yeah, I don't know if that's a good idea, but okay.
That's probably not. Yeah, although it was a pretty tame one. Anyway, 3,000 years ago, they were doing the same thing in the other Luxor.
Drinking alcohol on their 21st birthday?
Well, they were drinking something. Anyway, it's located in Luxor, which is about 1.5 miles west of the Valley of the Kings, and was found in October 2022.
Yeah, and they speculated it belonged to a wife or some other royal woman because it is located close to Hatshepsut's tomb and also close to the tombs of Thutmose III's wives. So it's in this kind of wife zone. So they were thinking, okay, must be a woman or a wife or something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so during the 2024-2025 excavation season, researchers analyzed fragments of alabaster jars. The pottery sherds are inscribed with Tutmos II's name, along with the name of his wife and half-sister. I know how I've heard this name before. Hatshepsut. But
she was a super famous female ruler in ancient Egypt.
It's just hard to say.
Hatshepsut.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I hear it in my head from like TV shows. Hatshepsut. But when I go to say it, it's like really hard to say. Yeah.
The other one too. So just another little sidetrack here. Stephanie from The Past Macabre did a whole episode on this finding, I think maybe 1 or 2 episodes ago. It was right when this came out. And so if you want to hear more about it, you can go listen to her episode. We'll link it in the show notes. But she pronounces Thutmose, or Thutmose. So, and she's an Egyptologist, so she would know better than us, of course.
Sure.
But it's really hard to say because it's spelled Thutmose. It's really hard to pronounce that E on the end of it. It feels wrong, right?
And I think I've heard it pronounced Tutmos as well by certain people.
It might be.
So who knows?
Yeah. Anyway.
Anyway, I'm going to keep going. Thutmos.
Okay, do it.
Thutmose. Anyway, we don't know a lot about him, Thutmose II, and our best information is that his reign lasted less than 5 years.
Yeah.
He was.
Oh, and also, I think we kind of glossed over this, but you did say the name of his wife and half-sister. Yes, that is true. They would marry within the
Sure.
They had some Game of Thrones,
Of course
Lannister stuff going on back then. So, yeah.
Yep. He was succeeded by his son and grandfather, Thutmose III. No, wait a minute. That's not true. Just his son.
His son.
Thutmose III. I don't know how that would work. Anyway.
Son and nephew, maybe? Because it's his half-sister?
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah.
I was just making up words.
Yeah.
Anyway, the tomb measures 95 feet long, and the burial chamber inside is 17 feet by 17 feet by 11 feet. I thought they measured those things in ketums or cubits or some Indiana Jones term.
I don't know.
Yeah, anyway.
They found the remains of plaster fragments covered in blue inscriptions and yellow star motifs and parts of a religious funerary text.
Yeah, the tomb is situated beneath 2 waterfalls. This sounds like some adventure where you go find this, but anyway, like you're playing a video game.
I've actually found it really hard to visualize this. I don't really understand what they meant by situated beneath 2 waterfalls. I guess it's just drainage points where water was coming down from above. Yeah, essentially.
Because I don't know that it was waterfalls all the time, because it says at the bottom of a slope that water would have poured down in wet weather.
Yeah, right? Exactly.
Yeah,
and that's why the tomb is mostly empty and was mostly empty, and probably why it wasn't heavily looted, because archaeologists suspect it was flooded not long after he was interred there.
Yeah.
Oh, and actually we have his actual remains because his mummy has been found. They were identified in a cache in 1881. Again, I don't think we have the provenance on that. We don't know how they got into that cache, who took them, or whatever. So anyway, it could be that because his tomb was flooding and it was not very long after he was placed there, that they moved him to a different tomb too, because of the flooding problem. So anyway, I just found it interesting that they have his remains elsewhere. So something happened to separate his remains from his tomb at some point. And I don't know if that was looters or purposeful.
Yeah.
Well, it was looters, but
his mummy is now housed at the National Museum of Egyptian Civilization. And actually in the article, the word housed is hyperlinked. And if you click on it, it takes you to the museum. And there's a picture of his mummy, and it is shocking. I don't know. His face is exposed, and so are his hands. And
I haven't seen it. I'm going to look at it right now.
Yeah, it's a little bit it's a little bit crazy. Yeah, I don't know, because we'll talk about this next week or on our next episode, but I'm not going to say next week because who knows what's going to happen. But next episode,
we're flying home next weekend.
But we saw a bunch of mummies, Egyptian mummies, at the British Museum.
Yeah,
and we're going to talk about it. And I don't think I saw any that looked like this. So anyway, it was a little bit interesting because you can see the black skin, no hair.
Oh, I've totally seen a picture of this mummy before. It is super interesting.
Right.
The way, because he's wrapped in a shroud type of thing, but his hands and head are exposed.
Which probably they were wrapped, but they were exposed for this photo, or probably exposed for this. I can't imagine they were unwrapped the whole time.
I don't know. It kind of almost looks like they purposely, because his hands are crossed across his chest.
Yeah, it's hard to say.
Gosh, yeah, the preservation is amazing. Anyway, that's so cool.
Yeah. Anyway, turns out the Great Wall of China might be older than we thought. Maybe they were built by Egyptians. We'll find out.
Should we talk about it?
I guess so. See you on the other side. Welcome back to episode 299. And this article is also from Smithsonian.
Yeah, on a Smithsonian kick that day, I guess.
Apparently. Yeah, I think all three of these are, actually.
Oh, are they?
Yeah.
That makes sense, because I like them. And they,
yeah.
They have good articles, yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So this is called The Great Wall of China Might Be Older Than We Thought. And so the Great Wall of China was not built all at once. No. Obviously, it's huge.
It couldn't have been. It's huge, yeah.
So,
But it wasn't built all at once, and it wasn't built all by the same dynasty either.
Oh, couldn't have been.
Yeah. There's thousands of years of history in the wall, basically.
Yeah.
And that goes all the way up to the 17th century.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I mean, technically, they're probably still building some of it now if it falls apart. So there you go. New research shows that the oldest section, known as now this is QI that they're saying, and I thought QI was pronounced Qi.
Sure.
But Qi or Qi, I don't know. I don't speak Chinese. We're going to say Qi. But the Qi wall may be 300 years older than previously thought.
Yeah. From May to December of 2024, archaeologists in China's Shandong province excavated at the village of Guangli, and there they uncovered a new section of the Qi wall, as well as trenches, residential foundations, roads, rammed earth structures, and ash pits, and more. Just basically the remnants of, a village or something, people that lived here in this area. Mm-hmm. And they use several methods to date these new wall sections, including carbon dating and optically stimulated luminescence, which is one of my favorite dating methods. That's where they determine the last time something was exposed to light by very carefully protecting that thing that is in the dark and then testing it for light particles.
I do that on my butt after a long workday to see how long I've been sitting.
To see how long you've been sitting?
Yeah.
Oh, you should probably get up and walk more.
I probably should.
Anyway, I just think that is so cool because the science on that feels really strong. Mm-hmm. Stronger than some of the other dating methods that are used to date things. So, yeah.
Yeah, together these methods suggest the oldest parts of the wall were actually built during the Western Zhou dynasty, which is 1046 to 771 BCE, which is super long time ago. Many long
times ago.
Archaeologists also found 2 Zhou dynasty dwellings beneath a section of the wall, which suggests the area was home to a small settlement before the wall was built. I like to not gloss over that. Beneath a section of the wall.
Yeah. So people lived there before the wall was put up.
I'm just like, how are they getting beneath a section of the wall? I don't know, what methods are they using to get beneath a section of the wall?
Oh, I see what you're saying. How are they even doing that? Yeah. Well, they might not be excavating this for preservation and tourist purposes. It might, because archaeology is a destructive science. They might actually be kind of dismantling it, or they could be getting profiles or something too.
Yeah, or it could have fallen apart.
It could have fallen apart.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, they might have collapsed stone work or whatever.
Before putting it back together.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
The residents that they found were semi-subterranean, and they're square foundations with rounded corners, which I thought was really interesting. Mm-hmm. It's a very unique footprint for a structure, and I guess that's why it's so easy to date them to a certain dynasty, because it's architecture that is from that time period. It's very obvious.
Are you sure it wasn't just student archaeologists? No, seriously, these aren't rounded corners.
I think they're going to get that bit right. So, yeah. But this is really interesting because, anything that pushes back the date, even by a couple hundred years, is, super important to the overall history of the wall. So, this is cool that they've added to it.
Yeah, something cool that is just
mind-boggling.
Yeah, the Great Wall spans more than 12,000 miles across northern China.
Yeah. Isn't it true that you can see it from space too? Don't they say that?
You can see sections of it,
like
from
parts
space.
of it.
Yeah.
Well, you could probably see the sections that are the like iconic ones that you always see in photos.
Just like the big ones.
Yeah, those are the sections that are known as the Ming Great Wall, which spans 5,500 miles, which is almost half of it. And those were built between 1368 and 1644 BCE, so it's still like crazy old. Yeah. But they are in, I guess, maybe just better repair, essentially. Oh, I'm sorry. I misspoke there, or I mistyped in my notes. It's 1368 to 1644 CE. So those sections are, up to only a few hundred years old, which is why they're in better shape, essentially. So, yeah.
This must be the ones that Tom Cruise helped invent.
Oh, Lordy.
What movie was that? It was terrible. The Last Samurai?
Yeah.
Is that it?
I don't remember that movie, really, but sure, if you say so.
Yeah. Why do you think he had an accent?
Yeah, well.
I don't know what he was supposed to be, but it was bad. Yeah. That was our movie reference for this episode. Well, I already said Indiana Jones.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's a given. That happens every episode.
Yeah, it does. It does indeed. All right. Well, that was kind of a short one, unlike the Great Wall, which was
true,
not a short one.
I mean, it's such a significant thing, but they're still doing the excavations, and the most significant piece of it is that it pushed back the time frame. So there's not a whole lot more to the story than it pushes back that time frame. Yeah.
So anyway, let's move over to our favorite, Pompeii.
Man, this is the episode of landmarks, isn't it? We started in Egypt, then we went to the Great Wall of China, and now we're going to finish up in Pompeii.
The only thing we don't have is Stonehenge, which we will talk about next week.
Oh, we will talk about that. And if you follow our social media, you might have seen a little sneak peek of what we experienced.
Yeah, you want a preview, go over to ArchPodNet on Instagram. Yeah. So anyway, we're going to talk about something cool that was found in Pompeii in the next segment. Back in a minute. Welcome back to episode 299, and we're back to the Smithsonian here, Smithsonian Magazine. And this article is weirdly titled, "See the Stunning Frescoes of a Mysterious Dionysian Cult Discovered in Ancient Pompeii." I mean, they do talk about them as well, but then they show you a bunch of pictures as well. So,
there are a lot of pictures here, and they're really, really detailed and really nice to look at. So
I do wonder, though, and then this is going to come out of our... I don't know how much we're going to talk about this in our British Museum talk on the next episode, but the way people interpret some of these things, they really get a lot out of it. And I guess it just, they're scholarly studies. So, you learn how to interpret. But I
guess so.
Yeah, it floors me, the things people can get out of these things.
Yeah, they do seem to draw conclusions that are a leap to me sometimes, but it must be because of that knowledge of the time period that informs those conclusions, right?
Yeah, it just makes me wonder where all that leads from. You know what I mean? So anyway, nearly life-size frescoes were uncovered on 3 walls of an ancient banquet hall in Pompeii. They depict female followers of Dionysus engaged in secretive cult rituals. And Dionysus, if you remember, was the Greek god of wine and ecstasy. So everyone's favorite.
Yeah. The women known as Maenads or Bacchantes had swords in their hands and slaughtered animals draped across bare shoulders.
Yeah. I mean, all that's pretty clear.
Yeah. Yeah, that's just saying what the image is.
Yeah.
They are accompanied by flute-playing satyrs and are engaged in wild ritualistic dance.
Yeah. I mean, that's pretty much what we have in our bathroom balls.
Again, that's just saying what these pictures are, for the most part.
Yeah. In the center, a clothed woman waits for her initiation into the cult. Yeah. So getting down with some crazy stuff down in Pompeii.
I guess so. Yeah.
The only other one showing this type of ceremony was the only other room like this or set of frescoes showing this type of ceremony was found in 1909, also in Pompeii, in what was called the Villa of the Mysteries. Yeah. Now, these names were not called this in Pompeii. These were given these names.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just because of what they look like.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But, I mean, the frescoes are are beautiful when you scroll. Really, you should take a pause and just go scroll through and look at them because the detail is so amazing.
Yeah.
Like the one of the like dead animals that are sort of hanging over the like tipped over basket of shellfish. The detail on that is just really, really stunning. It's hard to believe that was preserved for 2,000 years, you know? Thanks, Pompeii, I guess.
Well, yeah.
Yeah. These large-scale paintings are known as megalography, and they were found in the house of Thyasus and date to the 1st century BCE, of course, because it's Pompeii. So, yeah.
Well, they date to as late as
yeah, exactly. I guess it could have been painted earlier.
I think we could go ahead and say they date to about 79. No, so 1st century BCE is actually well before.
Oh, it is. That's true. Yeah.
So,
yeah.
But they weren't used later than 79.
They
AD.
were not used later than that. Fair point.
Too soon. Yeah.
Oh, gosh. The frescoes depict a secretive cult, even for back then.
Yeah.
Researchers think people took opium-like substances along with wine to enter a trance-like state.
Yep. Taking drugs.
And that's where I'm like, how do they know that? Do they have this is Rome, so Romans, do they have written evidence?
They probably have.
Of drug use and secret cults?
I would imagine so.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess the content of the frescoes would probably have been, pretty racy even for the time. So I guess it must be obvious to people who know these things.
Yeah. Yep. The women depicted are both hunters and dancers, and this suggests the duality of slaughter and revelry being the central tenet. There's a quote here, too, from one of the people involved, and it says, "For the ancients, the bacchanante or Menaiad expression expressed the wild, untamable side of women. The woman who abandons her children, the house and the city, who breaks free from the male order to dance freely, go hunting, and eat raw meat in the mountains and the woods. In contrast," Zuchtriegel explains, "were the women who emulated the goddess Venus and lived by the dictates of Roman society." So, yeah.
So these are the crazy ladies.
Yeah.
The ones who apparently abandoned their children and their house and go live in the woods and
Eat raw meat.
And dance by the light of the moon, probably.
That's right. Yeah. So.
I mean, I guess I buy that. Yeah. But in one of the frescoes, one woman is eating actual raw meat and another breastfeeds a young goat. So they could stand as analogs for life and death or some other cult ritual thing that was going on there. And it's interesting. You think of the Romans as being like so sophisticated. Not that this wasn't. Maybe it was a very sophisticated thing.
Yeah, Roman authorities were trying to crack down on ceremonies like this by 186 BCE. So, so these guys were sitting in here having their little ceremonies, and they were like, so apart from the aqueducts and the roads and all that stuff, what have the Romans done for us?
I refuse to engage in this. I won't be a party to it.
The paintings suggest otherwise. The paintings suggest... No, apart from the crackdown on this, the paintings suggest that the Romans were not very successful in the crackdown.
In getting rid of it. Yeah, I mean, of course, there's always going to be underground groups doing things that they're not supposed to.
I'm willing to bet that given the existence of secret societies and things like that, even today, that I mean, maybe not exactly this type of ceremony exists today, obviously. Yeah. But you never know. Maybe it does.
You never know.
Yeah, there might be a handful of people still practicing this thing. Who knows, right? But some version of, something along these lines probably does still exist today. I mean, and persisted for thousands of years. I mean, people really get into this kind of stuff.
Well, and what I wonder about this too is, yes, we have all these frescoes that are portraying like really extreme things, eating raw meat and all the other stuff, breastfeeding a goat, like those are the kind of things that people just generally don't do. But maybe the people who are part of this ritual weren't doing those actual things.
Yeah.
You know, it makes me wonder what the actual ritual itself consisted of. Was it just drinking a bunch of wine, taking some drugs, and dancing around?
Yeah.
And like, that's, I don't even know why the Romans would want to stop that from happening. Like, what's the big deal, right? But
well, it's like anything. If you have a religion, so to speak, that is, you know, promoting ideas that go against the state, you know, eventually, then they're going to try to put a stop to that, whatever that means to them.
Yeah.
If they see it as a threat, you know what I mean?
yeah.
My biggest question is, you paint this kind of stuff on the wall. How do you keep it secret?
Yeah, totally.
You know? Like was the whole room kept secret, or did they hang tapestries? Did they,
what was the rest of the structure around it? Like, is it a subterranean area that people would have had access to for the most part?
Yeah. How did they keep this stuff hidden?
Yeah.
Because somebody walks in and is like, what's on your walls?
Well, if they're being, like, you know, hunted by the Roman authorities, these frescoes would certainly give them away the second they walk in, right?
This probably would have been a pretty, you know, wealthy household.
Yes, yeah, they would have to be.
The Romans wouldn't have just walked in the front door.
Yeah, it would have to be a wealthy household, for sure.
But even so, they would have been able to come in at some point with cause, and you would have had to hide it somehow. So
yeah, for sure.
But anyway.
It's very interesting to think of these kind of cults doing culty things, and how extreme were they? Like I said, were they just dancing around doing drugs, or were they like out there murdering people? I don't know. I'm interested to know, but the frescoes aren't going to tell us those answers. So yeah.
All right. Well, next time we're going to talk about, and this is our episode 300.
Yeah, episode 300.
We're going to talk about our actual visit to the British Museum.
Yep.
And to a couple other well-known cultural historical sites and prehistoric sites around Britain.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's what we're going to do.
Yeah, but not Stonehenge. I think we're going to give Stonehenge a whole episode.
We'll see.
Yeah. Bye.
See you next time. But maybe not next week. We know. We don't know. But next time.
Next time.
All right. Thanks for listening to The Archaeology Show. Feel free to comment and view the show notes on the website at www.archpodnet.com. Find us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at ArchPodNet. Music for this show is called I Wish You Would Look from the band Sea Hero. Again, thanks for listening and have an awesome day. The Archaeology Podcast Network is 10 years old this year. Our executive producer is Ashley Airy, our social media coordinator is Matilda Siebrecht, and our chief editor is Rachel Roden. The Archaeology Podcast Network was co-founded by Chris Webster and Tristan Boyle in 2014 and is part of Cultural Media and DigTech LLC.
This has been a presentation of the Archaeology Podcast Network. Visit us on the web for show notes and other podcasts at www.archpodnet.com. Contact us at chris@archaeologypodcastnetwork.com.